जय कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा जय गिरिवर धारी जय गिरिवर धारी जय यशोदानंद जय भजन रंजना जय यशोदा नंदना जय भजन रंजना जय यशोदा नंदना जय भजन रंजना जय यशोदानंद जय भजन रंजना जय यमुना तिरवनचारी जय कुंजम बिहारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जाए जगन्नाथ बलदेव हनुमान की जय नरसिंह भगवान की जय पंच तत्व की जय षड गोस्वामी की जय गुरु परंपरा की जय श्री गुरुपाद की जय गुरुदेव की जय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality God Narayana, unto Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Shri Vyasadeva, the author. नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवति उत्तम श्लोके bhaktirbhavati naištiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart becomes completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Hare Krishna, Prabhupada Mataji. Today we'll be giving the opportunity to discuss on verse number 54 from 4th canto 8th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam. Let us start. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Mantrenanena Devasya Kuryat Dravyamahim Buddha Saparyam Vividhair Dravyair Deshakala Vibhagavet. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Mantrenanena Devasya Kuryat Dravyamahim Buddha Saparyam Vividhair Dravyair Deshakala Vibhagavet. So anyone, two of you can recite this verse.
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी मैं आए.
Yes, ma'am.
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय मंत्रेणानेन देवस्य कुर्याद्रवमयीं बुध सपर्यां विविधैर्द्रव्यैर् देशकाल विभागवेत्. हरे
Hare
कृष्णा.
Krishna. Anybody one?
Krishna, may I?
Yes, ma'am.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Mantrenanena Devasya कुर्याद् द्रव्यमयीं बुधः सपर्यां विविधैर्द्रव्यैर्देशकालविभागवित्। हरे कृष्ण।
Hare Krishna. Go to word meaning. Oh my Lord. Namaha, I offer my respectful obeisances. Bhagavate, unto Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vasudevaya, unto Supreme Lord Vasudeva. Mantrena, by this hymn or mantra. Anena, this, Devasya of the Lord. Kuryat, one should do. Dravya Mayim, physical. Buddha, one who is learned. One who is learned. Saparyam, worship by the prescribed method. Vividehi, with varieties. Dravyahi, paraphernalia. Desha, according to country. Kala, time. Vibhagavit, one who knows the divisions. Translation purport is divine to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Please hear the translation purport. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This is the 12-syllable mantra for worshipping Lord Krishna. One should install the physical forms of the Lord. And with the chanting of the mantra, one should offer flowers and fruits and other varieties of foodstuffs exactly according to the rules and regulations prescribed by authorities. But this should be done in consideration of place, time, and attendant conveniences and inconveniences. Purport. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya is known as the Dvadashakshara mantra. This mantra is chanted by Vaishnava devotees and it begins with pranava or omkara. There is an injunction that those who are not brahmanas cannot pronounce the pranava mantra. But Dhruva Maharaj was born as Kshatriya. He at once admitted before Narada Muni that as a Kshatriya he was unable to accept Narada's instruction of renunciation and mental equilibrium, which are the concern of a Brahmana. Still, although not a Brahmana but a Kshatriya, Dhruva was allowed, on the authority of Narada, to pronounce the pranava omkara. This is very significant, especially in India. The caste Brahmanas object greatly when persons from other castes who are not born in Brahmana families recite this pranava mantra. But here is tacit proof that if a person accepts the Vaishnava mantra or Vaishnava way of worshipping the deity, he is allowed to chant the pranava mantra. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord personally accepts that anyone, even one of a low species, can be elevated to the highest position and go back home, back to Godhead, simply if he worships properly. The prescribed rules, as stated here by Narada Muni, are that one should accept the mantra through a bona fide spiritual master and hear the mantra in the right ear. Not only should one chant or murmur the mantra, but in front of him, you must have the deity or physical form of the Lord. Of course, when the Lord appears, it is no longer a physical form. For example, when an iron rod is made red hot in a fire, it is no longer iron, it is fire. Similarly, when we make a form of the Lord, whether of wood or stone or metal or jewels or paint, or even a form within the mind, it is a bona fide spiritual transcendental form of the Lord. Not only must one receive the mantra from the bona fide spiritual master like Narada Muni or his representative in the disciplic succession, but one must chant the mantra. And not only one must chant, not only must one chant, but he should also offer whatever foodstuff is available in his part of the world according to time and convenience. The method of worship, chanting the mantra and preparing the forms of the Lord, is not stereotyped, nor is it exactly the same everywhere. It is specifically mentioned in this verse that one should take consideration of the time, place, and available conveniences. Our Krishna consciousness movement is going on throughout the entire world, and we also install deities in different centers. Sometimes our Indian friends, puffed up with concocted notions, criticize. This has not been done, that has not been done. But they forget this instruction of Narada Muni to one of the greatest Vaishnavas, Dhruva Maharaj. One has to consider the time, country, and conveniences. What is convenient in India may not be convenient in the Western countries. Those who are not actually in the line of acharyas or who personally have no knowledge of how to act in the role of acharya unnecessarily criticize the activities of the ISKCON movement in countries outside of India. The fact is that such critics cannot do anything personally to spread Krishna consciousness. If someone does go and preach, taking all risks and allowing all considerations for time and place, it might be that there are changes in the manner of worship. But that is not at all faulty according to Shastras. Srimad Veeraraghava Acharya, an Acharya in the disciplic section of the Ramanuja Sampradaya, has remarked in his commentary that Chandalas or conditioned souls who are born in lower than Shudra families can also be initiated according to circumstances. The formalities may be slightly changed here and there to make them Vaishnavas. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommends that his name should be heard in every nook and corner of the world. How is this possible unless one preaches everywhere? The cult of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Bhagavata Dharma, and he especially recommends Krishna Katha, or the cult of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. He recommends that every Indian, considering this task to be para upakara, or welfare activity, take the Lord's message to other residents of the world. Other residents of the world does not refer only to those who are exactly like the Indian Brahmanas and Kshatriyas, or like the caste Brahmanas, who claim to be Brahmanas because they are born in the families of Brahmanas. The principle that only Indians and Hindus should be brought into the Vaishnava cult is a mistaken idea. There should be propaganda to bring everyone to the Vaishnava cult. The Krishna consciousness movement is meant for this purpose. There is no bar to propagating the Krishna consciousness movement, even among people who are born in Chandala, Mlecha, or Yavana families. Even in India, this point has been initiated by Srila Sanatana Goswami in his book Haribhakti Vilasa, which is Smriti and is authorized Vedic guide for Vaishnavas in their daily behavior. Sanatana Goswami says that as well metal can turn to gold when mixed with mercury in a chemical process, so by the bona fide diksha or initiation method, anyone can become a Vaishnava. One should take initiation from a bona fide spiritual master coming in the disciplic succession, who is authorized by the predecessor spiritual master. This is called Diksha Vidhana. Lord Krishna states in Bhagavad Gita, Kripa Shritya, one should accept a spiritual master. By this process, the entire world can be converted to Krishna consciousness. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Om Ajnantamaraandasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitamena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Nadati Svadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagar Jatam Sagana Raghunatamitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijan Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Saganarita Shri Vishaka Vitamsya He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanjan Gaurangi Radhe Vanda Vaneshwari Vrishabhan Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriya Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Yonta Pravishya Mamvacham Ma Prasuktam Sanjeevayate Krishakti Dharasvadamna Anyam Chahasta Charana Shravanato Gadin Prananamo Bhagavate Shayatubhyam Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Nagati Girip Yatkapathamamante Pramandam Namo Vishnu 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 Putri in the Mahashuru Swami Rishisham. So Hare Krishna Prabhu's Matajis. Welcome all of you for this Srimad Bhagavatam session, and thank you very much for joining and keeping the appointment with Krishna. So this chapter is entitled Dhruva Maharaj leaves home for the forest. See, in this chapter, today we are discussing 54, right? See, the verses starting from 45 to 50, Naradavani many times, he glorifies the pleasing nature of Krishna. In 4845, he says, Prasanna Vadana, that is pleasing face. And in 46, he says, Niramnam, that is transcendently pleasing in all respects. And in 50, he says, Mano Nayana Vardhanam, very pleasing to the eyes and mind. See, my Guru Maharaj, he says that Lord Krishna smiles at everyone. See how different kinds of people come to the temple, right? To take the darshan of the Lord. And it is irrespective of whether the person is a thief, rogue, or criminal, whatever. Krishna always smiles. So whether people glorify him or blame him, he smiles. See, apart from this, Krishna's matchless, transcendental, beautiful features, his smile makes him very attractive and easily approachable by everybody, right? So now we can in no way compete with the beauty of the Lord. So, to be pleasing to all, to everyone, does not mean that we need to be very beautiful. So irrespective of the fact that whether we are ugly or good looking, the Lord has blessed a great gift to all human beings, and that is the ability to smile. It takes lesser number of muscles to smile than to frown. So it is always better to have a smiling face. Now, if you go with a morose face, then my Guru Maharaj used to say, "Why is your face like a rotten banana?" Look at Krishna's face. He has a nice watermelon like face. How nicely he's smiling. So please, we don't want rotten banana faces. We want watermelon like faces. So when devotees see each other, no, their face blooms with joy, and they fold their hands and offer obeisances. And when the Lord's devotees meet him, the 7 crore hair follicles in the body, they start dancing out of ecstatic joy. That is when your hair is standing on hair and like all these things we say, right? When you're really completely in a blissful state. So when we meet any living entity, we should be really thankful to Krishna for the opportunity. Instead, if we frown at each other, then what happens? The relationship gets all the more strained. So there is a nice saying that a smile is a small curve which can straighten up so many things. And also smile is free of cost, no charge. See, we don't lose anything by smiling, right? So in fact, it makes us, as well as the people whom we interact with, I also know we feel better. They will also feel better. See, we might have experienced that when we are when somebody in a critical condition in a hospital or so, even a small smile from the nurse or doctor or encouraging, right? It really psychologically gives some hope and courage. So can we imagine how worse it will be if people frown at us in that condition? Just like how staying in a hospital is miserable, every living entity is suffering in this material world. So a gentle smile and pleasing words will be like an oasis in the desert. My Guru Maharaj used to always quote a beautiful verse from Shastras. Priya Vakya Pradhanena Sarve Tushyanti Jantavah Tasmat Tadeva Vakya Paktavyam Vachaneshu Kim Daridrataha. By speaking pleasing words, all the living entities are satisfied. By speaking pleasing words, all the living entities are satisfied. So therefore, always speak sweetly. Why are you so poor in your sentences? So as practicing devotees, it is all the more important for us to imbibe this quality of having a very pleasing demeanor to all. And that will give courage and hope to our living entities, whom we meet, and also inspire them to take to this process of bhakti. That's why in 51 and 52 verses, Narada says, the Lord is always smiling. And the devotee should constantly see the Lord in this form, as he looks very mercifully towards the devotee. In this way, the meditator should look towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the bestower of all benedictions. One who meditates in this way, concentrating his mind upon the always auspicious form of the Lord, is very soon freed from all material contamination. And it does not come down from the meditation upon the Lord. So in this verse, Narada Muni is very nicely stressing on the importance of taking darshan of the Lord. When we are chanting the Mahamantra, when we chant, right, then also the devotees advise us to fix our mind on chanting. So we should try to chant sitting in front of the deity or any picture of the Lord or Tulsi Devi. Because if we keep seeing other things, then it is dhyayato vishayan pumsaha. That is, mind is so tricky that our thoughts wander here and there. And we will no longer be chanting with proper concentration of the holy names. So it is recommended by Shastras that Grihasthas should carry on deity worship at their homes as well. Deities are not like the showcase dolls, but they are merciful manifestation of the Lord Himself in our home. The presence of deity has a great impact on each and every person in the family. If even some person is atheistic or does not have faith in the Lord, simply if they take the darshan of the deity or honor Lord's prasadam, it has a gradual impact and brings a change in the consciousness of everyone. That's why in the purport, Prabhupada very nicely says, the word niyatena is very significant in this connection, for it indicates that one should execute the meditation practice as stated in this verse. So one should not manufacture a way of meditation on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but should follow the authorized shastras and personalities. So by this prescribed method, one can practice concentration upon the Lord until one is so fixed that he remains in trance, thinking always of the form of the Lord. So the word used, ekabhutena, which means with great attention and concentration. If one concentrates on the descriptions of the bodily features of the Lord, one will never fall down. As Bhagavatam 2.3.22 very nicely mentions, the eyes which do not look at the symbolic representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, his forms, name, quality, etc., are like those printed on the plumes of the peacock. So Prabhupada says about all the members of the household, in the verse of 2.3.22, Prabhupada in the purport says, all the members of the household should be engaged in the daily service of the Lord, beginning from morning 4 a.m. till night 10 p.m. by performing Mangalarti, Archana, Puja, Kirtana, Shingara, Bhoga, then Sandhyarti, right? Bhoga at night, Shayana Arti, all this. So engagement in such worship of the deity under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master, it will greatly help the householders, grihasthas, to purify their very existence and make rapid progress in spiritual knowledge. Simple theoretical book knowledge is not sufficient for a neophyte devotee. Book knowledge is theoretical, whereas Archana process is practical. If one is unable to maintain a temple at home, we should go to another temple where all the above performances are regularly executed. So visiting the temple of a devotee and looking at the profusely decorated forms of the Lord, well dressed in a well decorated, sanctified temple, naturally infuse the mundane mind with spiritual inspiration. Very nicely put by Prabhupada, right? So in this verse we say, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Every time when we start Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita, we say this. So this is a 12-syllable mantra for worshipping Lord Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya is known as Dwadashakshara. Dwada means 12. Dwadakshara mantra. This mantra is chanted by Vaishnava devotees. And it begins with the Pranava or Omkara. So that's why we just saw, right, in the purport. That's an injection, no, that in Brahmanas cannot pronounce those who are not Brahmanas, they cannot pronounce this mantra. But Dhruva Maharaj was a Kshatriya. And he immediately admitted that I am a Kshatriya, I cannot accept this because it is for Brahmanas. But although not a Brahmana, but a Kshatriya, he was allowed on the authority of Narada Muni to pronounce this Pranava mantra. Omkar, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So it's a proof. The person accepts the Vaishnava mantra or Vaishnava way of worshipping deity, he's allowed to chant the Pranava mantra. And Krishna says, personally accepts that. Anyone, even of a lower species, he can be elevated to the highest position. And he can come back to God simply if he worships properly, as per the authorities. See, we are seeing in this chapter, in the beginning, we are meditating on various wonderful verses spoken by Narada Muni to Dhruva Maharaj, describing the form and glories of Krishna. Some of the points, just summarizing before we take up this word. First one is, we should surrender to Krishna, fully dependent on him, without any reservations. Second is, Lord is tolerance personified and is mercifully tolerating our inabilities. We're doing so many nonsense and everything, but he tolerates. That is, he is tolerance personified. So remembering this, we should learn to be tolerant to other living entities. Third, Lord's beauty is matchless. And by sincerely hearing his glories from pure devotees, we'll be able to meet the Lord. Fourth, Lord is Shantaha, very calm, quiet, and peaceful. So when we practice tolerance and satisfaction, then we also become Shantaha. Fifth point, the Lord is pleasing to eyes and mind. So remembering this, we should always be smiling and pleasing in our behavior to others. And sixth is, if we constantly see the Lord's beautiful form, we will be free from material contamination. That's why coming to the current verse 454, which we are discussing, Narad Muni gives the mantra to worship the Supreme Lord and also explains the process to be followed for worshipping Him. So, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, the purport, Prabhupada says, the prescribed rules as stated here by Narad Muni are that one should accept the mantra through a bona fide spiritual master and hear the mantra in the right ear. Not only should one chant or murmur the mantra, but in front of him, he must have the deity or physical form of the Lord. So not only must one receive the mantra from a bona fide spiritual master like Narada Muni or his representative in the disciplic section, but one must chant the mantra. And again, Prabhupada further says that not only must one chant, but he should also offer whatever foodstuff is available in his part of the world according to time and convenience. So this verse we find Narada Muni is teaching us the importance of chanting, kirtanam, as well as deity worship, archana. See, you might wonder, if chanting the holy names of the Lord alone could give us love for Godhead, why should we take to initiation or deity worship? So Srila Prabhupada, in his unparalleled purport of 7.523, while explaining the process of Archanam, clarifies our doubt. Prabhupada says, one might ask, then what is the necessity of being initiated? The answer is that even though the chanting of the holy name is sufficient to enable one to progress in spiritual life to the standard of love of Godhead, one is nonetheless susceptible to contamination because of possessing a material body. Consequently, special stress is given to the Archana Vidhi. One should therefore regularly take advantage of both the Bhagavata process and the Pancharatrika process. So, Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada also mentions that if any householder or Grahastha devotee is circumstantially unable to worship the deity, then he must at least see the deity worship, and in this way, he may achieve success also. Deity worship brings discipline in us. It regulates our life and instills cleanliness and purity in us. It should be done according to the suitable arrangements given by the spiritual master. Prabhupada says, Grahastha devotees, however, are generally engaged in material activities. And therefore, if they do not take to deity worship, their falling down is positively assured. Very powerful statement. So deity worship means following the rules and regulations precisely. That will keep one steady in devotional service. So to be steady, deity worship is very, because he organizes and disciplines you. And you are absorbed throughout the day. See, in the purport, Prabhupada says, 4854 in the book, which we are discussing, the prescribed rules are stated by Ananda Muni are that one should access the mantra through a bona fide spiritual master, hear the mantra in the right ear. That's what we discussed, right? So this mantra is very, and not only chanting, he also said, whatever foodstuff is available in any part of in that particular world, according to time and convenience, you should offer. See, Narada Muni knew that Dhruva Maharaj is in forest. So he might not be able to offer bhoga, cooked in an elaborate manner. Nor can he get deity made of pulp, wood, or metal. It was given there, now you have to have this, have this. But what about Dhruva Maharaj in the forest? Both cannot be done. So, as a kind spiritual master, knowing the position of his dear disciple, Narada advises him to make a form of the Lord with earth and water and offer whatever flower, fruit, leaf, and water is available in the forest. See, the words Shuchibihi means purified and Shasta means newly grown grass. So be it fruit, flower, leaf, or water, whatever is being offered to the Lord must be pure and fresh. So Narada Muni also mentions that offering should include tulsi leaves, which are very dear to Krishna. So through these descriptions, Narada Muni is also revealing the simple and the kind-hearted nature of Krishna. He does not demand for any elaborate preparations. Krishna doesn't want. But is satisfied with these simple offerings done by his devotees with love. That's why in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna himself declares in 9.26, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam, Vyome Bhaktya Prayachati, Tadaham Bhakti Upahartam, Ashnami Prayatatmanaha. If one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water, I will accept it. So Lord is simple. So is the process of worshipping him. So we should not unnecessarily complicate the process whimsically. Prabhupada very nicely clarifies in the purport as to what should be the mood of the devotee in 9.26. The devotee should not be anxious about cooking food. Whatever is available in the forest or in the city among the fruit and vegetable groups should be offered to the deity. And the devotee should be satisfied eating that. He should not be anxious to have very palatable dishes. It's not that should he have offer something which is pleasing to Krishna, not which we love and then we offer and take it. Love means we like to eat that. I like gulab jamun, so I offer Krishna the gulab jamun and take it. Of course, whatever is available, wherever it is possible, no, one should offer the deities the best foodstuffs prepared within the category of fruits and vegetables, cooked or uncooked. See, the most important fact is that devotee should be regulated. Meet the book. Meet the book means that is one of the good qualifications of a devotee. He should not hanker to satisfy the tongue with a particular kind of foodstuff. He should be satisfied to eat whatever prasada is available by the grace of Krishna. So in this regard, came across a very nice pastime about Lord Jagannath, as it is mentioned in Skanda Puran, Utkala Khanda. In Treta Yuga, there is a king named Shweta, who was a great devotee of Lord Jagannath, and who served the Lord faithfully, following all the rules and regulations laid down by King Indradyumna. So daily he would prepare one bhoga offering to Jagannath. Early one morning, the king was observing the puja offered to Jagannath. He saw thousands of demigods offering many nice articles to the Lord. But the king thought to himself, the Lord has been offered these wonderful gifts from the demigods. What can I offer my Lord from this earthly planet that might please him as much as the gifts of the demigods? So while thinking thus, the king offered his obeisances and left the temple room. Before he turned away at the doorway to the temple, he saw Lakshmi Devi serving the food he had prepared for Lord Jagannath. So the Lord, along with his Vijay Vigrahas, was relishing the food. So the king felt blessed to see this incident, satisfied that he had offered something to the Lord that pleased him. So it doesn't matter for the Lord whether it is one item or 10 items, or whether it is prepared by human being or demigod. The Lord accepts the offerings when it is done with genuine love, humility, and devotion. So when we cook bhoga for the Lord, or go to the market for buying grains, vegetables, fruits, our motive should be to please Krishna, not to satisfy our own senses. Then our consciousness will be purified. So we should not do these things in a mechanical manner, like a ritual. But we should always remember that the deity is non-different from the Supreme Lord and has kindly manifested in our homes in that form. So with gratitude and devotion, if we prepare and offer the bhoga to the Lord, then by His grace, we will be able to relish the bliss of the service, the taste of prasadam, and gradually become steady in devotional service. See, in 4858, Narada reveals to Dhruva Maharaj about the simplicity and potency of devotional service to Krishna. He says that in situations where one is not able to worship the physical form of the Lord, one can still worship the Lord within the heart by reciting mantras, and then the merciful Lord, who is also non-different from the mantras, accepts such kind of mental worship as well. That's why in the wonderful purport of 7.523, while describing the Archanam process, Prabhupada mentions in the Narada Pancharatra, it is stated by Lord Narayana that worship of the deity within the mind is called Manasa Puja. So one can become free from the four miseries by this method. Sometimes worship from the mind can be independently executed. According to the instruction of Avirhotra Muni, one of the Navayogendras, as it is mentioned in Bhagavatam, one may worship the deity by chanting all the mantras. So 8 kinds of deities are mentioned in the Shastras, and the mental deity is one of them. So Prabhupada also mentions about the description given in Brahma Vaivarta Puran about a poor innocent Brahmana who lived in the city of Pratishthanapura. So once in the assembly of the Brahmanas, he heard about how a deity is worshipped in the temple and how the worship could be done within the mind as well. So after this incident, the Brahmana, no, having bathed in the Godavari river, began mentally worshipping the deity. He would watch the temple within his mind. Then in his imagination, he would bring water from all the sacred rivers in golden and silver pots. He collected all kinds of valuable paraphernalia for worship. And he worshipped the deity very gorgeously, beginning from bathing the deity and ending with offering arati. So he felt great happiness. After many years had passed in this way, one day within his mind, he cooked nice sweet rice with ghee to worship the deity. He placed the sweet rice on a golden dish and offered it to Lord Krishna. But he felt that the sweet rice was very hot, and therefore he touched it with his finger. He immediately felt that his finger had been burnt by the hot sweet rice, and thus he began to lament. See, actually, he's doing only in his mind, and still, when he offered and he touched it, he was feeling hot. So, while the Brahmana was in pain, Lord Vishnu in Vaikuntha began smiling. And the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, she inquired from the Lord, why he is smiling? And Lord Vishnu then ordered his associates to bring the Brahmana to Vaikuntha. Thus, the Brahmana attained the liberation of Samipya, the facility of living near the Supreme Personality of Godhead. See, on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, there also Bhishma Deva was lying on the bed of arrows. He was unable to use any physical paraphernalia to welcome or worship the Lord. And all the wonderful sages and devotees would come to meet him. He was not able to do that. But according to time and place, he received all of them and offered wonderful prayers to the Supreme Lord. So one should not do mental worship out of laziness or miserliness. See, Lord is omniscient. So he can very well detect the motive and the mood of the person doing the offering. And he will reject such offerings. So the point to be learned is that we should offer the best of things to Krishna for worshipping him. But in cases where facilities are not available, we can still worship him mentally by offering prayers. In any case, worship or connection with the Lord should not stop, but should continue with full velocity. So Narada Muni advises Dhruva Maharaj that besides doing deity worship and chanting, it is also important that we meditate upon the transcendental activities of the Lord. That means you have to meditate and then preaching is also be done, right? So scriptures like Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam are full of transcendental activities of the Lord. When we hear this such Katha, Krishna Katha, we cannot keep quiet. We want to share it with others. So since we are present in the middle world and susceptible to contamination, there is always a chance that we might tend to lose our faith and taste in the process of bhakti if we don't meditate on the transcendental activities of the Lord. On the other hand, by regularly and seriously meditating on the transcendental activities of the Lord, our faith in the bhakti process will improve. How? In leaps and bounds. So Prabhupada, in the purport of 118.11 says, the more we hear about the transcendental activities of the Lord, as they are stated in Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, the more we can know about his transcendental nature and thus make definite progress on the path back to Godhead. So, by regularly hearing about his pastimes, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, regularly hearing about his pastimes, activities, and his nature, we will also gradually develop the transcendental nature and qualities of the Lord. So, such remembrance of the Lord's activities will have a positive effect in improving the quality of chanting and deity worship also. So, hearing Krishna Katha is very, very important. It will improve our chanting and also deity worship. So, all Vaishnava Acharyas, no, like the six Goswamis of Vrindavan, His Divine Grace Bhakti Vinod Thakur, His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, then Srila Prabhupada, all were engaged in deity worship. Still, they spend so much time in, see, they are doing deity worship and chanting everything, but they spend so much time, still they spend so much time in studying, writing, speaking about the transcendental activities of the Lord. So this shows the importance of meditating and remembering the transcendental activities and qualities of the Lord. In fact, if we chant the holy names without offenses, then gradually we will become more and more inquisitive to know and learn about the transcendental qualities of Krishna. And then ultimately, in the advanced stage of devotional service, it becomes difficult for us to keep away from speaking about and hearing about the glories of the Lord. We have to speak about and hear, that's all. So, Krishna Katha is very, very important. It will improve our chanting and deity worship. So all Vaishnava Acharyas, no, like the six Goswamis of Vrindavan, His Divine Grace Bhakti Vinod Thakur, His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, then Srila Prabhupada, all were engaged in deity worship. Still, they spend so much time in, see, they are doing deity worship and chanting everything, but they spend so much time, still they spend so much time in studying, writing, speaking about the transcendental activities of the Lord. In fact, So that is what Prabhupada very beautifully says in 2.1.11 Bhagavatam. Hearing of the holy name gradually promotes one to the stage of hearing about his form, about his attributes, his pastimes, and so on. And thus, the necessity of the chanting of his glories develops successively. Prabhupada says that the necessity of chanting of his glories develops successively, which means that chanting the glories of the Lord becomes a necessity, not an option, at the advanced stage of hearing. So we are still in the process, right? Hearing Krishna Katha to get absorbed. That will not be wanting to speak anything else. We only speak about Krishna's pastimes. So one cannot help but keep glorifying the Lord continuously. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so intense in his eagerness to glorify Krishna that at times he would speak as if he had 1,000 mouths. Lord Anantadeva is glorifying the Supreme Lord with his 1,000 mouths for thousands of millenniums. But still he is not satisfied with this service. So we can see from the advice of Narada Muni and also from Srila Prabhupada's transcendental purports that the processes like Shravanam, Kirtanam, Archanam, Smaranam, etc. are interlinked, and performing one process nicely positively feeds onto the other with the ultimate result of developing steady transcendental love and devotion for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is a point to understand. So the last paragraph, Prabhupada says in the 4854, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommends that his name should be heard in every nook and corner of the world. How this is possible unless one preaches everywhere? So the cult of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Bhagavad Dharma. And he especially recommends Krishna Katha, or the cult of Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. He recommends that every Indian, considering this task to be para upakara, or welfare activity, to take the Lord's message to other residents of the world. Prabhupada says other residents of the world does not refer only to those who are exactly like Indian Brahmanas or Kshatriyas, or Indian origin people abroad, right? Or caste Brahmanas, no. The principle that only Indians and Hindus should be brought into Vaishnava cult is also a mistaken idea. There should be propaganda to bring everyone to the Vaishnava cult. The Krishna conscious movement is meant for this purpose. There is no bar to propagating Krishna conscious movement, even among people who are born in Chandala, Mlecha, or Yavana families. See, even in India, this point has been very beautifully enunciated by Sri Sanatana Goswami in his book Hari Bhakti Vilasa, which is Smriti and is the authorized Vedic guide for Vaishnavas in their daily behavior. So Sanatana Goswami gives an example. No? He says that as bell metal can turn to gold when mixed with mercury in a chemical process. So by the bona fide Diksha or initiation method, anyone can become a Vaishnava. So one should take initiation from bona fide spiritual master coming in the disciplic succession, who is authorized by his predecessor spiritual master. This is called Diksha Vidhana. So Lord Krishna states in Bhagavad Gita, Vyapashritya, one should accept a spiritual master. So by this process, the entire world can be converted to Krishna consciousness. So very nice lessons we could learn from this today. So I'll stop here. Thank you very much for this, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Grantha Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai Prabhupada ki Jai Puri Vaishnava. Vancha Kalpataru Vishkripa Sindhu Bhai Vacha. Patidanam Pavani Vaishnava. Hare Krishna. So if you have any questions or anything to share, please go ahead. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Guruji. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Thanks.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for a wonderful class.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavas Pranam. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Nicely explained, Guruji. Today is about that smile which you have said. That is, a single smile will give put on lot of pleasure. It is already also quoted that laughter is the best medicine for all the diseases. So when we keep the smiling face and go on, it helps in many ways to face any difficulty which is approaching us. So the first impression should give a small smile to anybody we meet.
Correct.
Or also those who hate or those who also think anything bad about us also, we should not consider anything as a serious, but keeping a smiling face will help Krishna conscious absolutely in our mind and heart, Guruji.
Very nice. Thank you, Mani. Very nice.
Sorry, Guruji, I'm feeling breathlessness because I was put in a mood and I was hearing with my earphone.
No problem. It's okay. But you
Yeah,
very
I
nicely
just
put. Thank you very
yeah, I
much.
just came to put on and I was explaining to you. Very
Thank
nice, Guruji, today's classes.
Thank you, Mani. Krishna's mercy. Gurudev Vidya. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you, Mani. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mataji. You have anything to share? Otherwise, we'll stop here. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavad Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Thanks for emphasizing, Nityam Bhagavata Sevya. Not only the deity worship and, whichever the birth quality or the guna or anything come to culminate with Krishna consciousness. That is, meditating on that point. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Very nice. Thank you very much. Okay. So, shall we leave now? Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji and Prabhuji, for hearing patiently. And I presume you would have learned something to put back in your daily life. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Hare Krishna.